You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast, here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Thad, and joining me is my co-host, Chrissie. How are you today?
Oh, I'm not bad. I think I'm stuck in the holodeck. I'm not entirely sure. There's definitely a lot of clues that that's the case, but, sometimes that just happens. You guys will find me. It'll be good.
Could be the holodeck, could be Q, who knows?
Yeah.
Also joining us today is Carl Wonders, my podcast co-host from my other podcast, License the Spiel. Carl, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I have not seen Moriarty, so he is off the list of possible culprits for this problem. I'm sitting here with my giant cup of black coffee, so I'm ready to go talking about Janeway and the Adventures of Prodigy.
Before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders, Justin Oser, and Chrissie De Clerck-Szilagyi. Justin, I'm sorry you're not here for this Patreon roundtable.
Yeah, really?
Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. So, we had an episode of Prodigy this week, Ghost in the Machine. The first holodeck malfunction episode since Lower Decks Terminal Provocations.
Not that long ago, comparatively speaking, so that works. Yeah.
A couple years. Not nearly as long a gap as there was between Terminal Provocations and Spirit Folk, which was the previous holodeck malfunction episode.
Spirit Folk.
This episode was better than Spirit Folk.
Oh, God, yeah.
Carl, what'd you think of this episode?
I mean, I've enjoyed pretty much every episode of Prodigy so far, and this is no different. It's interesting to me that this was maybe the second episode in a row that some people might unfairly call a filler episode, because not a whole lot plot-wise happens in this episode, but just like last week's, I thought it was great. I loved seeing more into the minds of these kids we've been following the whole time. And this is maybe one of the times that they actually really felt like kids to me, and not just kids put in an adult situation, but they were kids put in kids situations. And, Thad, you called me out a couple episodes ago for my comment to you about how, is this really a kid's show, or is it a show for Star Trek fans who have kids that they want to show Star Trek to? And this one really, to me, actually did feel like a kid's episode in a lot of ways, and in a good way. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's the filler versus, story episodes. I think part of that has to do with how kids shows are done in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I admit I do not watch a lot of Nickelodeon shows. So the example that I can give comparatively is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is admittedly 10, 15 years old at this point. But that was another kids show on Nickelodeon with an overarching story, but they had plenty of episodes in there where nothing related to the main plot really happened, and our heroes did something else. And I think that's just the formula that they would do for this kind of show, especially when you consider that it's 20 episodes in a season, even if they are splitting it into two halves. So I think they have the room to do that. So you can get the kids show version of Move Along Home, and they just don't have the time to do that with those 10 episode seasons of Picard, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a different thing, too. I like a filler episode now and then because life isn't that dramatic, you know?
Sometimes you have to take a break from the Dominion War and play baseball against Vulcans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I thought this was good. I'm surprised to hear that anybody thought last week was a filler episode. That was background.
Last week was an exposition dump.
Yes. Oh, good phrase. Yeah.
It was. Let's learn about the background of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't propel the current story at all until the very, very, very end, but we certainly learned a lot, and like I said, I really loved that episode too. So this is 2 in a row that maybe not are light on story, but there's a lot in here for the characters to do and to grow and everything. I was just using a word that people might throw out there. I don't think it was filler at all. I think it was great.
Not filler in the anime sense, certainly.
No.
Which is usually where you hear filler describing TV is a lot of times an anime, specifically anime that's based on a manga. If the show gets ahead of the comics, they'll just do a bunch of episodes where nothing happens because they have to wait for the manga to catch up.
Part of Game of Thrones like that.
Well...
I mean, I would argue that there was more filler episodes in the last season of Discovery than there have been in Prodigy.
Yeah. So ice cream therapy, right?
What sort of lunatic would whip cream?
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, it was weird that, and then she like shoots it in her mouth, which I love that moment. But
I mean, haven't we all done that?
Yes, of course. But again, that's like, oh yeah, they're kids. They're gonna do that. That whole scene was great. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Pile it on. Pile it on.
Pile it on. So here's the question. Is it real ice cream or is it holographic ice cream?
It's holographic ice cream. Which I always wondered, like, if you go in the holodeck and eat something, how does that work? Yeah.
There's replicators.
No, you're right. But in Voyager, when Tom Paris first takes Harry Kim to Chez Sandrine, Harry says he doesn't want to drink wine because it gives him gas. And Tom says it's holographic wine, Harry. It won't give you gas.
I had forgotten about that.
I mean, only Harry Kim would get gas from drinking wine, but anyway.
Yeah, like most... Why can't he get heartburn like a normal person?
This is Harry Kim. Maybe he thinks all wine is sparkling wine.
Would the sparkling wine give you... No, that's just because there's gas in the... No, that's not how that works.
I was... Hey, I'm trying to defend where Harry Kim is coming from here. He needs our defense being an ensign for his whole life, so... What was I going to say? Oh, right. Probably depends on the program, right? Because if you're doing like a wilderness survival training and you're going to be in the holodeck for a week, you don't want to die of thirst. So...
Okay, but how does it make light and force fields taste like ice cream?
Well, I was saying it was actual food, so how does it make light and force fields taste like wine?
Right, no, and that's what makes sense to me, except that line about holographic wine, which makes...
No, you know what, though? We were still at the point there where Tom was being shitty to everybody, and he and Harry were not quite really friends yet, so he might have thought it was funny if Harry was discomforted by the wine.
Yeah, but I think Harry would be smart enough to be like, it's actually still wine. But maybe not.
Well, remember him talking to Quark. None of it's real ice cream anyway, because it's just reconstituted matter. So, there you go.
It's all shit. It's good for shit, but it's shit.
It's all shit, yep.
Well, I mean, technically everything is reconstituted matter in its own way.
Okay, that's true. It's technologically reconstituted matter. How about that? Instead of naturally. It's the difference between corn being a GMO because of thousands of years of selective breeding by humans versus corn being a GMO because we injected it with something.
Neither of which is inherently good or bad. But yes.
Correct.
Right.
But marketing.
Yeah.
If the holodeck hadn't had the glitches that made them think they were in the holodeck, I wonder how long Janeway would have dragged this on.
So I have a question about that, because Janeway ultimately needs the command codes to get the protostar to Federation space, so she has to trick Dal some way. So, were the glitches intentional?
I don't think so. I'm wondering if she may have been planning to set up a situation where Dow had to enter his command code into something.
Maybe.
A la Moriarty.
And yeah, exactly.
And then after that, she just needs to keep him in there. And it doesn't, because the ship's going to get where it needs to be.
Speaking of the glitches, like, where is the feral human from? Or is that a Tellarite that we didn't really know?
Yeah, I was very confused about that. A Tellarite walks by and she says, "Did anyone see a malnourished feral human?" I'm like, 1, not a human. 2, clearly not malnourished.
That was really confusing, because I went back and like watched that a couple times, and I'm like, okay, so she sees what turns out to be one of the Tellarites from the biker gang, I think.
Yeah. Well, they're all Dr. Nooms, I think, right?
Yeah, Jason Alexander must have had a lot of fun recording this episode.
I didn't realize that until I read it in the TrekCore article, so that's fun. That was a good connection. But yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. Even if she had just said feral human, it would have been like, okay, well, I get why you might see that out of the corner of your eye and not understand.
But the suffering from malnutrition part was the really confusing part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if they had originally intended to make it a different character and then decided to make it a Tellarite.
Oh, maybe.
It could be. Although I thought it was also weird, and I'm going to be pedantic, that it was Gwen that said that, because has she actually met a human other than Janeway? Because I don't think we have a human on the ship, do we?
Okana. She met Okana.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And like, she's familiar with them in concept. But yeah, like a feral human, that's like Mowgli or something. I don't... Sure as hell not a Tellarite.
I don't know. Has anyone ever described Jason Alexander as feral?
I bet somewhere on Seinfeld he was.
Yeah, that's probably true. No one's ever called Jason Alexander malnourished, though.
No comment.
Now I'm just picturing like an animated conversation between Jerry and George, where Jerry's just like, "You're feral, George."
I don't even know where to go with that. Except that I feel like it would be Kramer that would say that, not Jerry.
Well, or Jerry would say it to Kramer.
Oh, maybe.
Alright, so they quickly realize that they are in the holodeck because of the Tellarite plus the creature from Rock Talk's game.
Delta Heart Magical Veterinarian.
Eyes.
Yeah, that was giving Jack and Pog kissy lips.
It was cute. I totally understand why she would like that.
The glitter smooch.
The glitter smooch, that's it, yeah.
Now my daughter's always been into those Beanie Boos, the little like stuffed animal things that have the big eyes.
Oh yeah.
And that's exactly what these reminded me of completely. I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I like when the sea monster shows up later and she's like, "Oh, this one's my favorite." One of my favorite personality traits for Rock Talk is that she loves cute things because it comes up over and over again.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. The whole thing reminded me of Neopets. Did you guys play Neopets as kids?
No.
That was like one of those Web 1.5 before we hit Web 2.0. Like a big, this world of these cartoon. What it amounted to was like you had to take care of them, and then you could open a shop, and you took them to the carnival, and you did this and that. And
They figure out they're in the holodeck, and they end up going to the Cellar Door Society.
I love this so much.
I didn't realize that milk toast could be used in a positive sense.
Was it though?
Oh, yeah.
It's Zero's holodeck program. They love it. And they're talking about the purveyors of milk toast mysteries, and I'm just like,
yeah.
You know what? In the context of what they've been living through, a random boring mystery where you have to go find a key in a building, that sounds great. So, I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll say that, like, I really enjoyed this whole little section of the story, and
Oh, yeah.
before I realized that it was going to go off into other directions, as a child who grew up, I'm not a child now, but somebody who grew up in the 80s, this was giving me serious, like, Bloodhound Gang and other kid detective story flashbacks from like PBS shows of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for that.
I have never heard of Bloodhound Gang.
It was part of a show called 321 Contact, which was a science-focused show from the 80s.
I do remember 321 Contact vaguely.
Yeah, and there was the hints of Carmen Sandiego and one other one I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
I remember Carmen Sandiego.
But it was cute. I liked that the whole what would Zero do in his off time? Go be Sherlock Holmes. Go be kid Sherlock Holmes.
At this point, I was actually starting to wonder whether we were going to get Moriarty on Prodigy as well as Picard.
This is interesting. Okay. I was going to talk about this later, but since you brought up Moriarty, and Carl, you had earlier, but we have talked about how it seems like they are all lining up and they're putting little story elements in all of the shows that are going to eventually get picked up elsewhere. And I feel like people are going to watch this, the ones who are watching it with their kids to make their kids like Star Trek. And then they're going to be like, I gotta go back and watch Ship in a Bottle. And I gotta go back and watch this one. And there's going to be connections that end up being made, maybe completely unintentionally, but I think intentionally. But yeah, I just feel like this is all. I can't wait for Picard season 3.
Heck yeah!
Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that has been dropped in the other shows is going to get picked up, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and on the Trek Core review of this episode, done by Jen Tift, she talks about how her kids were asking her to watch other holodeck Trek episodes after this.
Yeah.
Which, this further reinforces the theory that this show is for parents to get their kids into Star Trek.
Yes.
Right, and just since I'm the one that threw that out there in the universe, or I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one, I'm sure.
I don't mean to say that this is not a show just for kids, but I remember when this show was announced and it was being hyped as being this, now the kids are going to have a way of becoming Star Trek fans, and this is going to be the entry point for Star Trek for a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine, a 7-8-year-old, if this is their only exposure to Star Trek, they're going to be kind of lost a little bit. Because they throw out a lot of concepts from Star Trek and characters from Star Trek that if your parents aren't Star Trek fans, it's going to go over your head. And that's not to say they're not going to enjoy the show, but I don't think it's going to hook them in the way that, Jen is obviously a Star Trek fan.
You don't say.
And her kids are getting into Star Trek through this show.
They don't have a choice.
And choices that they've made that I love, that things like, we're going to put Okana in an episode. That's not even a good episode of TNG to pull people into necessarily, but those of us who are fans of the show are going to be, it's the guy from that other episode.
At least it wasn't Joe Piscopo.
I remember you saying that.
Agreed. Although he could have shown up in this. He's a hologram.
That's true.
He could have been in that nightclub.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That would have been good. He should have been the MC. Oh.
And Ethan Phillips should have been the maitre d' to be a First Contact reference.
Yep.
That would have been nice. Can we just talk about how awesome it was that they set that all in black and white and how gorgeous it looked?
Yes!
That was fantastic. I think that's going to confuse kids. Going back with the whole thing about, not having the parent there to explain why Okana's relevant, or...
Okana doesn't have to be relevant, though. That's the thing.
No.
Well, okay, but no, he doesn't. But let's say explaining the Prime Directive or Warp Drive or some other concept. I try to put myself in the head of somebody who's never seen a black and white television, who does not have the concept of things were in black and white. And I think in that case, you're like, oh my God, something's wrong with my TV or my computer. You know, I think that's going to be the first reaction, not this is setting the mood for this. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Good, I'm making sense.
I'm trying to remember if somebody comments on it, though.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
No.
And I think we'll come back to something that I have said in a previous episode. At the moment, this show is currently only available on Paramount Plus. It's coming to Nickelodeon,
right,
but you're currently only watching these episodes on Paramount Plus. The only kids who are watching this are kids whose parents are into Star Trek.
Yep.
Oh, that's a point. Yeah, because they're not coming across it, flipping channels.
I mean, that'll change when it's on Nickelodeon, probably.
Well, I don't know. I mean, can the kids that only watch this on Nickelodeon because they don't have Paramount Plus watch other Star Trek because they don't have Paramount Plus?
Nope. That's a fair point. They can beg their parents to get Paramount Plus, and their parents would be like, what the hell?
It does still air places. There's, it's on every night on H&I, and...
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, H&I, yeah.
BBC America still shows sometimes.
Yeah, H&I is not available in every market, but yes.
Oh, gods, no, I know.
Because there's no H&I here for me. If I had cable, I could get H&I. But there's no broadcast channel.
Well, no, it's not a broadcast channel.
No, it is a broadcast channel.
It is?
Yeah, H&I is a broadcast channel.
Okay.
But it's only in certain markets.
I can't keep up anymore. It's all cable.
Well, I mean, I haven't had cable in, 15 years, so...
Yeah, there's no reason to.
But I know, no, H&I is a broadcast channel. You can get it with an antenna, but generally it's only in markets for major cities. So, there isn't an H&I affiliate in central Pennsylvania where I could watch it.
That makes sense. That explains why it feels like old school TV. Where the commercials cut out randomly.
And I do really I like that there's a whole group of people online that are live tweeted every night.
Me too.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I follow a bunch of them, even though I obviously am not doing that. I'm I like to sort of play a little bit of a game with that, when I see people tweeting with the All Star Trek tag to figure out how long it'll take me to figure out which episode they're watching.
Yes. I love it. So I liked that we got The Mystery is Afoot, just to put it all back around, instead of The Game's Afoot.
A feat. The Mystery is a feat.
A feat, excuse me, yes.
Well, I was it Gwen that was it's time to blow this pop stand, and they're like, that's not how that works.
Pop the blow stand.
Pop the blow stand. That's right, pop the blow stand, yeah. That's right. I got it right, sorry.
It's all right.
My favorite line, though, I think, throwaway line, is in Jankum Pog's holodeck situation when they're beating up all the Tellarites and everything, which, of course, that would be his. And as an aside, I love that whole encounter with the Doctor came back and wasn't just a one-off thing, that, it bothered him, and he took his frustrations out with the holodeck. But I loved at the end when the last one runs away and Zero goes, "The tattooed ruffian flees," which is such a great line.
Yes.
I don't know why. It just felt very detective story, hard-boiled detective storyline, which is great.
Yeah. And I love the way they talk too, because it's the voice actor's got an English accent, and so it's that thing of I don't know, Americans hear an English accent and think that they're smarter or something, I guess. But also, it has that feel of the person in the sitcom who's just a little too much for everybody else.
Right. Yeah. What did everyone think of the Murph things?
I love the song.
I liked Murphy No Shoes.
Murphy No Shoes?
He can sing, or at least lip sync convincingly. So I guess, is this holodeck program Murph's? Is that what, does Murph go to the holodeck and do this, I guess?
That, what I understand, yeah.
That's the implication, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And I missed the lip sync line the first time out, and I was worried that he was singing, and then I was like, I don't want that. But then it turns out that because I think that kind of went a little under the radar a little bit there.
Yeah, what if it turns out that Murph can talk, but only in song?
That would be interesting.
No. Well, that would line up for the Trek musical that people are asking for, so I guess...
Yeah, that's true.
Jonathan Frakes wants to direct a musical. He said so at GalaxyCon Columbus, where I was last weekend. Someone asked him, what's there one thing you've always wanted to direct and haven't had a chance? He said he wants to direct a musical, so Star Trek musical directed by Jonathan Frakes needs to happen.
Did he mean a Trek musical or a musical in general?
He meant in general, but I'm sure he'd be willing to do Trek.
Well, yeah.
Are you anti-Trek musical, Chrissy?
I'm not a big fan of musicals. I'm not. We've talked about this before, I think. Like, I appreciate him, for like once. But, I don't know. Hamilton's fine. Send your hate mail to...
Well, no, you're not saying you hate musicals, which is something that some people do, so...
Oh, no, I don't hate them. It's just not my first choice for anything.
I love musicals. Musical would be my first choice for most things.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
I think a Star Trek musical is long overdue.
I wouldn't not watch it. You know what? Prior to New Trek, I don't think that the atmosphere was such that could have been done at all. I mean, imagine being like, oh, we're going to have a next-gen musical.
Next-gen musical would just be them all playing violin music or something. You ever seen the Robot Chicken sketch of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, the opera?
Yes. Now that works.
Yeah.
That works better than just a musical, because that story is an opera. I love it. I miss Robot Chicken. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't even know if it's still on.
I think my favorite part in the holodeck was the black and white
100%.
bar. I think all the characters got to do something. I think it was cool to have the diviner there as the bartender.
That was perfect.
Jankum Pog interrupting a Latinum deal.
Yep.
Yes. And acting like he belongs there.
I kept expecting like a Carl Zemo to show up, but I think he's dead. So.
I think he is dead now, yes.
Or what's the name of the guy from the Royale?
Oh, the guy that was in everything in the 80s who played the guy behind the desk?
Yeah, that guy.
The Royale was a seriously underrated episode of TNG.
I agree.
I love the Royale.
Baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Like, that's a really dark concept, that you have somebody who's basically been marooned in this place. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's people laugh at it, but that is a crazy dark episode.
The diary entry, if only I had brought a better book or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Like, I'm the reason that these people have through no fault of their own and out of their own act of kindness put me in this hellish landscape that I cannot leave. It's like, wow, this is brutal.
Mm-hmm. The guy that's in everything is Sam Anderson, and he is still alive. He was born in 1947, so he's not that out of commission. And he's done stuff lately, it looks like, so...
Sorry, I'm just laughing at your turn of phrase of not that out of commission.
You know what? I was going to say he's not that old. And I don't know why I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the same age as my dad.
Right. What constitutes old gets further away.
As you get old, yes.
I mean, he's younger than both of my parents. Not by much, but he is. So anyway.
But yes, you're right. The window of time in which someone is old does get smaller the older that we get, because I'm not old. So therefore, people that are 10 years older than me can't be old either.
No. So I did love the whole Key Club. Like I said, I think that, like you were saying, that was my favorite part of all the holodeck stuff. Um, again, that's a way to introduce stuff to your kids, right? Because like then it's like, oh, it's in black and white. Why is it in black and white? And you can talk about, oh, things used to be in black and white.
You can go the whole Calvin's father from Calvin and Hobbes route and say that the whole world was in black and white back then.
And then you go read Lois Lowry's The Giver, where everything's in black and white.
Man, The Giver is a really good book, but the sequels got weird as heck.
They did. I agree.
Like, and The Giver was already kind of weird, but like the sequels, man, they're out there. Anyway, fun fact, Lois Lowry used to live in the town where I grew up.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, everybody should read The Giver. So then parents can be like, hey, here's stuff that's in black and white. And what that made me think of is my mother introducing my sister and I, obviously at different times, to Groucho Marx. And what that opens up culturally for people.
I think of my dad showing me William Hartnell Doctor Who episodes.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, okay. If you really want to get meta, you could watch I Love Lucy and then explain about how Lucille Ball was involved in Star Trek, and then...
Mm-hmm.
They managed to dive into the piano because of the missing key.
Yeah.
And now they are on Dow's holodeck program, which is a ship where everyone obeys his orders.
Of course it is.
Yes.
I love the guy that when he's like, we have to look for the key, and the guy, I shall go overboard to look, and he just jumps off the edge of the ship.
Do anything you say. Yep.
I really want to know who these people were, but like in his actual holodeck fantasy and not when they're Tellarites, because I imagine that they're not Tellarites.
Yeah, because they probably weren't all Jason Alexander before.
No.
I bet one of them looked like Okana, and he was the one that, like, cleaned the toilets or something.
Oh, yeah, I bet. He's the one that dives overboard.
Yeah.
So I think Jen mentions this in her review, actually, the Trek Core review. I wrote this note before I read it, even. I like the War Games solution to the problem of, the only winning move is to not play.
Yep.
And I think this is not a problem, but this is a thing that crops up very often in these 30-minute shows where Zero manages to come up with a solution rather quickly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the solution to escape the holodeck happens very quickly and conveniently, but I'm okay with that just because, that's not the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they die and that's the end of the holodeck, which tends to happen in these episodes where, I always think of Threshold when they're testing the engines in the simulator and the ship blows up and then the holodeck's over and they're just standing there.
Yeah. Even though they were sitting. Yeah.
Yep. I like, the culprit and everything behind this. I was getting some serious Arium vibes from the end of this episode.
Ooh.
Which isn't bad.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that.
Including the shot of hologram Janeway, with her eye gets all fuzzy and red and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and as like the subroutine kicks in and stuff. I was like, that's right out of season 2 of Discovery for me. Which again, they do like to hit similar notes in some of their stories, which isn't inherently a problem.
No, not at all.
And I like how hologram Janeway has no idea that this is happening and didn't know she did these things and that sort of stuff, which is nice because I don't want hologram Janeway to be malicious on purpose.
No.
Oh, I need to go back really quickly because my favorite line, the kids show line, my favorite kids show line, like this is clearly a kids show when this line comes up, was when they're on the ship and the Sparkle Sea Hugger is attacking them, and they're like, they say, Rock, what did you do? You've dealt with this creature. And she says, this creature is malnourished. I prescribe fruit and fiber. And she shoots like this giant thing of fruit out of the cannon at it. I'm like, that's a kid's line moment. And I loved it.
Oh, yeah. It makes sense with the game, though.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
So them all dying ends the simulation. But if the safeties were on, shouldn't they also have just died? Or safeties were off, I mean.
Ooh.
Well, it depends on at what point the simulation ends.
I guess they're lucky that it wasn't designed to keep going until they drowned.
Yeah. This might be an example of don't think too hard.
But speaking of holodeck safeties, I don't think they actually exist.
No, we've talked about that before, I think.
I understand where you're coming from with that. But I think there's different levels. Like, if you're in a holodeck program where you're climbing El Capitan, then the holodeck has the ability to catch you if you fall.
Right, because you're really only like 6 feet above off the floor.
Right. So that I consider a safety. That's a safety thing, right?
Yeah.
But like the thing, one of them, didn't Jenkem get punched and it actually hurt? It's like, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
It's a force field. Of course it hurt.
Yeah. But like the idea that if you're in a gunfight, that they're literal blanks, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but plus there's like the whole thing that literally like every time they're in the holodeck and the safety protocols get mentioned, it's because they're not working.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens all the time. The safety protocols are less reliable than the warp core ejection systems, and that's saying something.
Well, I will offer one counter to that example, but where they actually did work, which is in Descent when Data's trying to get himself angry again, and he needs LaForge to give him because he needs a command officer to let him go above a certain threshold.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
So how did B'Elanna Torres turn them off when she was doing the orbital skydiving?
She rewired it, figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
Data would have operated inside the rules of Starfleet, whereas B'Elanna Torres has never done that.
Right.
Because we know Data can just imitate Captain Picard and use his code, because he's done that before.
Yes!
Good point. And probably that means anybody on the ship he could do.
The number of times that the crew is put into mortal peril because Data has been compromised is not insignificant.
Agreed. I don't know what you do with that, though. I mean, they made Geordi get new eyes because of that. I mean, I know that's only in the book, but still, as you get hacked into too much.
I think that only happened twice.
Well, one of those times resulted in the destruction of a starship, so...
Okay. Fair. And the other time almost, started an interstellar war.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Not to mention spilling a drink on O'Brien, which is the worst thing he did.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst thing that ever happened to O'Brien.
At the end of the episode, is that the Dauntless, or is it a different ship? Like, where are we at the end of this episode?
I think it's the Dauntless.
It's the Dauntless. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my thought, because it looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for it to be anything else.
And a question that occurred to me at the very beginning, because at the very beginning, they're simulating an encounter with the Dauntless to try to talk them. They keep trying different things. Don't they have like an Aldous lamp or some equivalent on the ship that they can do Morse code without firing phasers at them?
You'd think.
Like, blink the side lights on the ship on and off or something?
Yeah, or something that doesn't involve an act of aggression. But again, they're kids, so maybe they don't know about it.
Or, I don't know, like, write a note and send it out the torpedo tube? Something.
There you go. Note in a bottle,
Spray painted on the side of the ship?
Yeah, there you go.
There are many ways that they can do this that probably would work better than doing Morse code via phaser, which would just look like you're attacking.
Plot.
I mean, to be fair, this is probably Janeway's, or hologram Janeway's suggested ideas, and she's up to something else, so... That's
a point that I had not thought of.
The device does not want them to succeed in warning them.
Good call.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that her that Janeway's programming was doing more than just making sure that they get to Federation space. She could have been undermining them the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms there.
Yeah.
Now I definitely want to go back and rewatch from the first episode.
Do either of you have any other thoughts about this episode that we haven't covered? I think we covered most canon connections as they came up, as usual.
No. I feel like we talked around it more than we talked about it, but that's okay.
But that's par for the course, really.
It is. And that's tough with these, because it's like, there's one thing that happens, and then there's the things that are leading into that thing, and so, yeah.
Well, that's why it's fun. I really been enjoying the dynamic we've done this year, where it's you and me with a different guest every week.
Mm-hmm.
Because it keeps the conversation fresh. It gives us stuff to talk about every week, even if we don't necessarily have a ton to say about the episode.
Agreed.
All right, well, speaking of which, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you online? Do you have any work that you want to mention?
So I'm still holding out on Twitter. I'm at Listening to Film. I can also be found on Mastodon, mostly just cross-posting at this point and forgetting that I'm on Mastodon, at Listening to Film at 10forward.social. And as Thad mentioned at the beginning, he and I co-host a podcast called License to Spiel that is all about James Bond and James Bond adjacent topics. We're currently working our way or trying to finish up the Austin Powers franchise before we move on to other things that should be coming up next week. And that's about it for me right now.
Did you guys do an episode of Our Man Bashir?
Yes, we did.
We did, yes.
I figured you would have. I mean, I can't imagine you wouldn't if it was more of a did you do that yet, I guess.
No, we did that. Yeah, we did that one. That came out in October.
Cool, okay.
Chrissy, where can people find you when you're not beating up Tellarites in a street fight?
That would be interesting. I don't think she'd be strong enough to do that. All right. Right. In addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on BQN, that twice-weekly short history podcast that I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. I'm also happy to chat about our shows in the BQN Collective on Facebook. And I am also still on Twitter at the Goddess Livia. And there I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. I'm going to get a Mastodon soon. Just haven't had a chance to do it. And then there's a new, there's an opposite of Truth Social that just dropped. And I can't remember what it's called. Oh, it's Tribal. That's what it's called. So I'll be over there at some point too, but you know. Thad, where can people find you when you're not trying to figure out how to communicate via Phaser Blast?
It's easy to communicate and say, I want you dead by Phaser Blast.
That's true.
Best place to find me is probably still on Twitter, at Tyrannicus, that's Tyranicus, where I will probably stay to Twitter till the bitter end, which may or may not be anytime soon, we'll see. You can also find me on Mastodon, where I'm at Tyrannicus at 10forward.social. Those are the best places to find me. I do sometimes post in the BQN Collective, but not regularly. And as Carl mentioned, you can hear me on License to Spiel, and that's about it.
And don't forget all of our other great shows here on the BQN Collective, like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Trek Spurts, Union Federation, What's the T-Bev, Mickey's Marvels, and History with the Szilagys. And exclusively for our Patreon members, there's It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moment. And this month, even if you are not a patron, you can still hear the episode of It's Green where Mark talks to Galaxy Class's Kevin Scarf about being a Santa for hire and some of the other awesome and fun stuff he does as a, I guess, quasi-professional clown. He does get paid for it at times. So
he literally went to clown college.
That's true. I forgot. Yes. So that's a fun episode. You can catch that on our Hive Mind feed, and I will include it in the show notes here too.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you'd like to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. On our next episode, we'll be talking about Prodigy's Mind Walk. Until then, we bid you peace and long life.